Hi, this is Jessica Block. I'm at the Qualcomm Institute at UC San Diego, and I'm a GIS analyst and geologist researcher. I'm going to talk to you today about open source software. The objective of this presentation is to present tools that provide spatial sensibilities to people who need help. Most of the software you'll use in this class and in others in college are great tools that do great work, but much of it is expensive and hard to take out of the office. The tools I'm going to show you now will cover geospatial tools that were designed by and for the general public. This is really where the rubber meets the road with respect to GIS for civic engagement. In the past 10 years, grassroots organizations have started working together to make software that gathers social information, mostly in the case of crises or natural disasters. And in this short overview, I will describe the projects that have set the stage for this development, defining a new way GIS can be used in civic engagement. I'd also like to present the disclaimer that these slides were generated by members of these respective projects, in particular the Sahana team, OpenStreetMap, and the Ushahidi team. So the foundation for these tools is that they are open source. This means that you can add to the software as you see fit. You can contribute ideas and you can get free access to use it and share it. And the best way to describe it is that it's free is in free speech. You get the software for free, you get to access it, run it, modify it, and redistribute. But there is a cost to it. So it's not that you can, in that there is someone who is actually developing and maintaining it. But these open source projects tend to run in that an entire community is developing them over time. So there is staff time involved. It's just run in a different, format structure. Open source is a set of principles and practices that promotes access to the design and production of goods and knowledge. So FOSS is free and open source, which is based on copyright law and means you have to provide recognition to the people who created the software, but you get rights to the software as the user. And usually this means that the software is special. It becomes a global public good. These products are not designed to make money. They're designed to be accessible to those who need it. So the three particular tools that I want to show you very briefly in this presentation are the Sahana Foundation, Ushahidi, and OpenStreetMap. So where did this all begin? At the end of 2004, there was a large earthquake in Southeast Asia that set off a huge tsunami. It killed at least 226,000 people, and there were about 5 million people who lost homes and basic resources. 1 million people were left without making a living, and it was at least $7.5 billion in the cost of damages. This was a historic event. It was a long time ago, and a lot of natural disasters since then have taken front stage, but this one has set the stage for how these disasters have been responded to. In that, what is the problem after these disasters? Well, there's a lot of trauma. People can't find each other. There's lack of communication. It's hard to coordinate groups. Lots of nonprofits show up and try to provide resources and aid, but sometimes they're all trying to do the same thing. So managing multiple requests from the people who need help and requests for more resources from the aid organizations are hard to manage. And tracking the location of resources in and out is very complicated and has typically been done independently. So Sahana is a free and open source portable web tool. It has modules designed to address these common disaster management problems, and it's designed for rapid application development and deployment. The key is to bring efficiencies to disaster response and facilitate effective information exchange. And its primary focus is to help victims. So it helps people who need the help and people who are trying to do the help. There are 4 core modules to Sahana. The first is the organization registry. So as a nonprofit organization, you can add yourself and you can see who else is doing the kinds of work that you're doing, and you can coordinate. There's a missing persons victim registry. So if you're looking for people, you can see if they have reported themselves. You can post that you're looking for those people. So it helps people get coordinated. For organizations, they can request there's a request management tool that allows people to report the types of resources that they need. And the location registry is the mapping application that locates all of these components. Now I'd like to transition to software that makes maps available and usable for the broader public. First, I'd like to talk about Ushahidi. Ushahidi builds tools for democratizing information, increasing transparency, and lowering the barriers for individuals to share their stories. They have a mapping tool that can be set up for people to report incidents via SMS or a web browser. Ushahidi, which means testimony in Swahili, is a website initially developed in Kenya to map reports of violence after their post-election fallout at the beginning of 2008. So on this slide, you can see what the mapping instance looks like on the left, and the figure on the right is showing you where you can send in information that you want to report. So in this case, the initial instance was documenting civil unrest, and as people wanted to report those incidences, they could email them to a proper email address. They could report them on the website that this map is being served, or they could be texted in. If you want to text it in, you have to set up an SMS short code and broadcast that information so that people know it exists. But basically, as word spreads through social media, people can report this information, and you can draw in tweets from organizations and map those automatically as well. So what that means is that anyone with a cell phone can pretty much keep their voices heard by plotting geospatially their observations, which means that everybody has a voice. I'm going to show you a few examples of how this platform has been deployed all over the world. This example is in New York City. The city has called to ask people to provide comments on where project development could occur in the city. In this case, a nonprofit organization set up an Ushahidi instance to document violence against women in India to help raise awareness. So people who were aware of it or were victims to the violence were able to report the instance. And these red circles are showing the number of incidents in that region. And as you zoom in the map, the resolution of the map increases, and you can zoom down until you can view the individual reports and exactly where they've taken place. You can track corruption around the entire world, and you can also use it for natural disaster experiences, such as this case in the US, where people could report where they're experiencing flooding. Now I'd like to talk about OpenStreetMap, frequently referred to as OSM, and it's known broadly as the Wikipedia of maps, in that it's free, it's available, you can search it at any time, and you can download the information from it. So in a way, OpenStreetMap is like Google Maps. You can go to it and you can investigate things that are on the ground. But with Google Maps, you don't get to extract that information or change it if it's wrong. On rare occasion, if you use Google Maps to get directions on your phone, you might notice that sometimes it's wrong. If you wanted to make changes to it, you couldn't. But with OpenStreetMap, the world has access to contribute to it. The way OpenStreetMap describes themselves is that they are a project aimed squarely at creating and providing free geographic data, such as street maps, to anyone who wants them. Which means also that you can download this information to your GPS, you can stream it using a web map service, and ultimately the accessibility that this organization has provided for geospatial data has been so powerful that it's influenced how for-profit mapping software has determined how their accessibility to geospatial data goes. So it's really influenced the world and accessibility to maps. This is a screenshot of what OpenStreetMap looks like. Usually when you open it for the first time, it opens near Africa where the latitude and longitude is 0, 0. And you can zoom into anywhere in the world and see what information has been digitized. Now, every single line and every single point and every single polygon in this entire planetary data set has been inputted by public users of OpenStreetMap. Now, as a concise example for the profound value this platform has provided globally, I'd like to talk about how it was used to help people in Haiti after the earthquake in 2010. There was aerial imagery that was provided by the government to the public very quickly after the event. And that imagery was provided for reconnaissance and assessment of the disaster. Once that imagery was served, users of OpenStreetMap furiously went towards digitizing Port-au-Prince. So from what we knew, people on the ground in Port-au-Prince, Haiti, had no situational awareness. There were no current working maps of these neighborhoods that needed help. And thanks to Ushahidi, people were text messaging where they were trapped in rubble in neighborhoods, and people had no context for locating these descriptions of where they were. So in a matter of hours, the community of OpenStreetMap started digitizing buildings and roads and shelters, and ultimately came to this comprehensive view of the neighborhoods that the aid organizations took advantage of on the ground to save lives. So in this instance, in this example, I'm describing a way that these two platforms actually worked quite closely together. This story is really about the social network of these open source mapping platforms and how social networking and the communities involved actually were able to come together to make this possible. So with the short amount of time that I had available for this presentation, I really couldn't do these projects justice. But hopefully you've learned that mapping can be used for civic engagement at the most critical and basic level for all people in the world. Other interesting mapping projects that make mapping accessible, not all of them here are open source, are listed with their websites. In particular, on the right, Walking Papers is an extension of OpenStreetMap where you can zoom into an area of interest, physically print out that neighborhood map, as you can see on the right, and walk around neighborhoods and jot down objects of interest that you want to add to OpenStreetMap. You can scan that map back in and then digitize all of these notes and points of interest that you have. So there are great community engagement tools here that can be used for free. On the left is Mapbox. It's designed by a group called Development Seed that powers mapping applications for other crowdsourcing information tools that you use, such as Foursquare. And MapStack, designed by Stamen Designs, is a way to actually just make very generic but overview maps with different artistic qualities that you can use for community engagement as well. And so if you went to mapstack.stamen.com, you could actually zoom into your area of interest and make really creative, dynamic maps for your project. There's a great deal more information about each of these projects that I would love to share with you. If you have any questions, please contact me by emailing me at j.block, B-L-O-C-K, @ucsd.edu. Thank you.